Welcome to the channel. This is Music Tech Game. Here we cover topics surrounding music, technology, and gaming. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create an SSH key. Now, why would you want to create an SSH key? Well, a few reasons why you want to create an SSH key is securely connect to servers and to securely authenticate source control accounts. And for the first option, to securely connect to a server, usually how you connect to a server with SSH is you use the username, password, host, and a port number if it's not the default 22 SSH port to connect to a server. If someone was able to guess your password or guess all your credentials, and they gain access to your system. But if you have an SSH key, the person gaining your system not only has to have your credentials, but they also need to have the SSH key private and the public pair in order to connect to the server. So that addresses that issue. Now, on the other hand, with the cloning source control repositories, where that comes in handy is when you have an SSH key set up, you're able to clone repositories with SSH, and the repository manager is able to add public keys to those who want to contribute to the repository much more easily compared to other options like HTTPS or HTTP. That's been like the widely used option prior to the SSH being adopted for more modern workflows. So those are some reasons why you would use SSH keys, and they're pretty useful in fact. Alright, and in this case, let's go ahead and create one. And I'm going to create it via terminal. Let's open up terminal. And here you can see everything. Alright. Just make sure you can see everything. Okay. There it goes. Alright. And here we're going to use the SSH Key gen command. And we're going to create an ED25519 key. There are other types of keys like the ED25519 SK key. That key is used whenever you have a security key. So that way, whenever you need to authenticate your SSH key, you would actually require a physical key in order to authenticate. But in this example, we're just going to use this. This is widely used in a lot of vendors such as DigitalOcean, AWS, Azure, and so on. And it's also compliant with GitHub, GitLab. So it's a great option. So an example, let's create it. All right, and I'm gonna name it my secret key. Let me just expand this a little bit. All right, and then have a passphrase. All right. Let's see if it's been created. All right, let's move it over to the SSH directory, the private and the public key. Let's go ahead and run our agent. Let's run the SSH agent. Now it's running with that given process ID. Now let's add our SSH key to the SSH agent, so that way it is aware of it. And you would point it to the private key. Now the reason for this is so whenever you use SSH to authenticate whether to connect to a server or clone a repository or such. Once you added it to the SSH agent, you no longer have to provide your passphrase for every single time you authenticate with SSH. This makes it a lot smoother process. So let's enter the passphrase. All right, it's been added, and to check it, let's run this. We can see it's been added, and at this point, the next step is to provide that public key. Let's take a peek at it. Provide that public key to vendors like DigitalOcean, AWS, and so on. And that way you'll be able to gain access to your servers. And the same applies to source control systems, so you can gain access to repositories. And yeah, I appreciate you checking out this video. I hope it has helped you. Give it a like if it has, and I hope you check me out again in the future. And this is Music Tech Game. Thank you for dropping by, and have a good one. Goodbye.